Hey there, it's Versus Mode, the show where video game industry leaders discuss and debate the topics and trends that are sweeping the business. I'm Scott Steinberg, and in our debut episode, we've invited Richard Garriott, creator of the Ultima series and now Portalarium, to explore the future of gaming with Jason Rubin, co-founder of Jack and Daxter and Uncharted creator Naughty Dog. To kick things off, a simple question. Just how far have we come over the last 30 years? Gentlemen, discuss.
You know, the games industry broadly is absolutely still in its infancy. I mean, I think that even though we've come so far with graphics, and I think our user interface is a lot better these days than it was in the early days. But I think as what I'll call an art form, our medium is still evolving, and that we're at an inflection point right now. If you look at the film industry, one of the reasons they can backload their costs is because if you have the best idea for a movie that exists, right, you can hire out almost all the parts and pieces you need before you go shoot it. Film stock is buyable off the shelf if you're still shooting on film. The frame rate is reasonably standardized. The amount of time that you need to shoot of raw footage to get the hour and a half you generally need to show is relatively standardized. The actors are well skilled and go to a professional training. We, unfortunately, especially in the years past, regularly reinvent everything from the camera on down to what the distribution method is, what the theater is, and even how long the experience is once you turn it on, so to speak. And where on television and movies, those are relatively more stable. And I think for us, we're finally beginning to see things like stabilized tools, very powerful stabilized tools, which I think are essential to shortening that 5-year time.
On the other hand, our strength is that we don't show on the same film in the same theater. So if you want to invent something new, you want to go outside the box, and you want to give a different experience, you have the opportunity to start from scratch, build a new camera, build a new set, present it in a different way, and then distribute it in a different way. And so the same weakness that leads to potentially us having to reinvent everything every time we make a new game is also potentially a salvation of the industry, because we can create a new distribution model.
Absolutely.
We don't have to ship it to a theater system. We don't have to do the same thing every given time. And I think pretty quickly in the next few years, you will see distribution and pricing methodologies come out that are better for the gamer, better for the publisher. And yeah. I think the heyday of the industry really is ahead of us. I absolutely believe this is going to be a bigger and bigger, better and better industry.
We're already bigger than the movie industry from just what I call raw numbers standpoint, in spite of the fact that we're so early in the evolution and we have yet to see the heyday. And we've already had a couple of upheavals. Online gaming versus solo player gaming was a pretty big upheaval.
Sure.
We now have even the earliest emergence of social media gaming is already gigantic compared to anything we've ever done before.
Absolutely. It's amazing that in 2 years, these companies built themselves from there's no real games on Facebook to companies that are making hundreds of $millions in revenue, and one of them that sold for hundreds of millions of dollars to Electronic Arts in 2 years.
Right.
I mean, that's faster, I think, than any new area of gaming has ever built.
And I look at that too, and I reflect on it. I go, with my first company, Origin, we spent 10 years, maybe 12 years, building a company from scratch, and eventually, sold it, what I thought with great success to Electronic Arts. But the scale of effort and time compared to what it is now to achieve even larger numbers is just awe-inspiring. You just go like...
It's the audience. The
it's
audience
really amazing.
Is so massive now. The number of people, we never reached that number.
Right.
I mean, when you brought out the early Ultimas, which I played to death, there weren't that many gamers. There just weren't. It was a small group of people under a certain age, male, that had these very expensive, that had these very expensive computers.
Right.
Because they were, when my father bought an Apple II for me, he was spending
$1,500.
$2,500 with a printer and a monitor. He was spending in today's dollars what very few people can afford. So there were very few people that had it. Now, people have their cell phone can play games.
Whether you're reading books or watching movies or whatever else it might be. And in spite of even the perceived relatively high dollars that still people spend on gaming, per hour that you spend with it, it's still a pittance compared to what you spend on anything else you want to do.
Absolutely. What I would like to see is a lot of the people that can't afford to spend $60 on 5 games, so they have to pick one game and hope that it's good and hope that they get addicted to it, able to play 5, 10 games for a lot less money to start, and then pick the one they really like and play it more. And I think that's healthier for the system, not for the publisher as a greed system, but as a system for allowing more people to try more games and pick the ones they like.
Right.
And be happier. It's better for the gamer to not have to plunk down $60 to try a game. It's better for them to be able to get in cheaper and easier.
And I think it is reasonable for every developer would say, I only really want to make money on the people who really actually enjoy my product.
Absolutely. It's not fair to make money on people.
Right.
And the height of this is behind us, where there were so many games coming. Now games are expensive enough that on these consoles, not that much comes to market. So there's a little bit of a quality barrier because you have to spend a decent amount of money to just put it on the shelf. Back in the crash days, when a $2 million was an expensive game, we threw everything at the gamer, and we were still charging them $50. And in those in those days, that's $60 because of inflation today. So they had to buy games because the shelves were full, and they really got screwed, and that was not fair. And for a gamer, I think if we can give them an opportunity to try a game, they will pick the games that they like, and that's good for everybody. And it will teach, by the way, it will teach the industry.
What they
not
really
to
like.
survive on marketing, but to survive on making games that people like.
Now that's what we call a high score. Looking for more co-op action? Check out our website. We'll see you next time on Versus Mode.